You
Oh,
getting a
here already.
double show?
Yeah. I was gonna do some ASMR. I have an Apple,
It's
but
just
no, I'll do that later.
Oh, okay, good. Thank God. Okay. Wow. So you missed lunch today for the third day in a row.
Yeah, I had to wolf something down pretty quick.
What'd you wolf?
Like
What'd
two
you wolf
minutes.
down? What'd you wolf down?
I don't. It was like deli meat.
Deli. I had a chicken leg, chicken leg and quarter, whatever
Yeah.
it is, a drumstick and thigh. I
Oh,
cooked
that's
them
good.
last night on the grill. I'll tell you, I cooked two. It was just me and
Mm.
my little one for dinner. And, took my freaking eyes off the prize for a minute and burnt the shit out of the top of the skin. I was so
Yeah.
bummed out because it was going to be epic.
Uh,
But, you know what?
so
The
we
dog.
were talking about this. Like sometimes when you burn food, the result is amazing, and then other times not so much.
Yeah, this wasn't so much. It was unfortunate because I was going for that crispy,
Yeah.
buttery, crunchy bit. So, hey, everybody, welcome to Where the Dogs of Society Howl. It is Thursday again at 1:30 p.m. in the Eastern Standard Time Zone. And the show's title today is Dead Air.
Whoa. Is that like still air, or is it the same thing, or there's dead air right there.
That's dead air. I love dead air because also, and I know, Jeff, for a fact, no matter what you say,
Yes.
you are not a fan of dead air.
No,
Yeah.
not a fan.
You are not a fan of the pregnant pause.
No.
And that's okay.
Because it's creepy.
I love it. It puts everybody on the edge of their seat,
Like, what's going to happen next? Is there a jump scare coming?
Yeah. Well, our guest today is awesome. He's been someone that we met a while ago. And he's in Scott Fisk's IAIM group. I probably butchered that, and I'm going to hear from him any second. And I got a chance to be on air with Scott in a session a few nights ago, and it was a lot of fun. But this guest of ours, he's a member of that group too, and he's a super smart guy. And we're going to be talking a little bit about his experience in advertising, journalism, podcasting, and communication. And one of the things he specializes in is fixing bad communication. Okay. Yeah. He's also got a car history, Jeff. So you and he.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, you guys are probably going to go all in on that. He loves music, so that's cool too. He's also got strong opinions and, according to some, a contrarian streak. And there's another thing that came up in his bio, and we'll get into that later. It's interesting. It's a word that sometimes I think some people misunderstand or misdefine, but we're going to see what he has to say with it. So please welcome to the show, Dan Roth, a creative pro, a problem solver, and a communication fixer who's worked across advertising, journalism, podcasting, and corporate communications for 15 plus years, 15 plus years. He does work fractionally. He goes in deep and he goes in fast. Suddenly I'm sounding like Trump there. Sorry. He's got strong opinions, which we love. And he's going to talk to us about why he feels most messaging is broken and exactly what you could do about it. So please welcome Mr. Dan Roth to the program.
Hey.
There is.
Dan.
Fellas.
Dan.
I feel like she should come in with like a Diamond Dave, like, hummity zippity yibbity bop from like, just take a little bit. I'm not as good at it. But
you want to drink?
Yeah.
Peter, what's the line, the glazed donut line? What is that?
Oh, I'll take a bottle of anything and a glazed donut.
There it is.
Awesome. Love me some Roth. You know that.
Brilliant branding guy, right? You say Diamond Dave, you get that picture in your head. You know.
He is. And when I saw him last summer at a little club here in New Hampshire, it holds about 1,200 people. So it was a good sized crowd. I mean, the place was packed. But he did that quintessential. He's like, comes out and he's like, I'm David Lee Roth, but you can call me Dave. All right, we're back to the 80s again.
All right,
I did watch
Dave.
a very funny video of David Lee Roth, or of Henry Rollins describing his encounter with David Lee Roth back in the day. So he was saying, and I love what Henry Rollins has become as he's aged. It's brilliant. He's been it for forever, but he was telling the story and he was saying, yeah, no, I was at one of those rock station interviews at 6:30 a.m. in the morning on a Tuesday or something. And, he goes, I just come out of my interview and I see Roth coming down the hall with a bunch of people in a long fur coat. And he's like, zippity bop, zippity bop. And he's like, he goes, I stopped him and I was like, hey, sorry, man. Nice to meet you. I'm a huge fan. And he's like, oh, hey, Henry. Right. Yeah. He's like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, I just got out of an interview, the morning show. And he's like, oh, I'm on my way in. Hey, you want a drink? And he opens his coat. And he's got like a fur coat lined with beers.
Oh, God.
And Henry Rollins is kind of a straight edge guy. And he's like, yeah, no, I don't want to drink. And Roth leans in and goes, what's the matter? You got school tomorrow?
Love that.
Shames him in the hallway.
Oh my God!
My goodness! But welcome to the program, man. You've been an attendee many times, and we love that. Thank you for coming, and thanks for being on with us. So, for those that don't know you well or may have missed the introduction, shame on you. Hi, Gavin. Hi, Rod. Greg. Why don't you explain a little bit about your background and what you currently do?
Yeah, sure. So currently what I do, let me just start there. I think most communication is kind of broken, whether it's advertising or content or even just corporate comms. No matter how it's made, you're burning time and effort. Usually it's not effective. And you've actually nowadays with AI, you're burning the planet too. So what I do is I come in, I make it easy for you to stand out with content that's worth the investment. And so together, I'll sit down usually with a client and we'll define an actual goal. We'll do a little bit of an audit. Then I'll go back to my workshop. Like the Grinch, I'll fix it up there and I'll bring it back here. So I'll take that goal that we defined and then I'll bring back, a strategy, create a brief. If we need to execute, I'll put the team together and we'll do the budget and those kind of things. And I can go execute. Or if it's something that I'm handing off, hey, that's cool. You own it. Happy to consult and help you get it across the line. But from there, once we go and do the thing, we measure, we adjust, and hopefully we win. And that's the background for that is I came out of video and film, started my career in local ad sales, making TV commercials for every widget shop in Worcester County. And it was really good training to quickly come up with ideas or just quickly like walk into a place and figure out how the hell am I going to do this? I only have a certain amount of tools and, we've got to go make a thing and it's got to make some kind of sense. And these small businesses that I was working with, it meant a lot to them. It wasn't huge money. We were charging a pittance for the production, but they just signed, a few $1,000 13-week contract to air their spot on cable. When you're a small business, that means a lot. And I find that's the friction that I found as I went through my career. I went into TV for a while and broadcast, doing some shows for PBS and stuff. So really like the clients changed, but the work was similar. And then 10 years in direct response. And it all taught me to be fast and to really be effective because that's like that they need to make it work and to just back up and say, what is that actual goal? What does it look like? How do we honor your investment? And I've worked for some huge companies. I worked for Ford and then I worked for Slate Automotive, which was a small company, but big dreams.
Yeah.
And the bigger the company, the sort of greater the the talent attached to a degree.
Mm.
But there's no reason why a small company shouldn't have access to the talent, the creative side of things, because the ideas are, I mean, honestly, the ideas are free. And
Oh, you're 100% true, Dan. Not to interrupt. I mean, I used to say that
Yeah.
all the time, was that you don't have to be a big company to get big creative.
Right.
You got to know where to look, and you got to be open. But like, yeah, this stuff isn't rocket science. And look, you could do an award-winning video advertisement, and you don't need hair, makeup, and craft truck to get it done. We've done it.
Right.
Not that it
Right.
won an award, but so your point is well taken
craft
here.
truck, man.
I agree.
Especially
the
the
craft
craft truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing that a lot of, like, they don't have the knowledge inside those small companies. So like a mid-sized company, they know they need it. They know the steps they need to take or the motions they have to go through. And so that's what they focus on versus the greater strategy of like, how are we going to actually do this? What do we actually need? And so that's where, as a fractional practitioner, I'd like to come in and be like, okay, here's what you need. It's maybe not what you think. You don't want to copy everybody else. So if you see everybody else doing one thing, well, you try to zag at first, see where they aren't, and fill that space. Or if you've got to be in the same space as them, you've got to be very different.
Absolutely. But what do you think about being different? And because you're a creative and you're a strategist, and everyone says we want to be different.
Yeah.
Well, you could do this. No, we don't want to do that. Well, you could do this. Yeah, that's no, we don't do that. And there's that sort of hold up where you go, there's the other part that is like, we do things different. Really, like how?
Right.
And
yeah, everybody says that, right? Like
yeah. So how do you look at that and go, hey, client, if we're going to be different, what are do you ask them if they've got, what are your guardrails? What's the limitation, the framework on this? How different do you want to be? And what's your comfort level in taking some risk? Do you go into that with them?
Yeah, you have to, because you don't want to be different just to be different. You need to be different, tied to your identity. And we can talk about it a little bit with some of the car ads from before I was born actually kind of got me into this entire realm, just like lit a creative spark. But that, what was in it for those, and what I think in terms of being different, you've got to be different and memorable, and not just different. So if your idea is different, that's great. But if you can't link it to your company or your brand, then you've got a great idea that everybody's going to remember, but they're not going to remember you. And that's the problem. And we do need the guardrails. That discussion has to happen. But then I want to make you a little uncomfortable, because if you're not uncomfortable, it's not different enough, right? Like if you're, and the consensus seeking kills me. It's like, you hired me to be the expert. You should listen to me. If you just want to be the smartest person in the room and do this, like, I'm out, because it's like, it's your work and not mine. And there is that give and take. I'm not an iron fist kind of guy, but let's riff. Let's not just like execute it. If you want production, that's different than fractional creative leadership.
That's a really good line to mark off, because that we've all run into that with clients, or certain clients who, they pay you for your expertise, and that's what you're there for. And then they tell you which numbers to paint in, and then they have a very short memory span. And then when things don't work out, or the outcome or the expectation is not what they had in mind, they come back and they're like, well, what you did didn't work. And it's like, that's not what I did. That's what you did.
Well,
you made me do that. And I told you, I actually went through this last summer with a client, and I had to go back into some emails, and I was like, I don't, I think we're all done here anyway, frankly, but like, let me show you specific incidents where this is what I presented to you, and why, with the intention and what the outcome would be from this. And this is the path you led me down instead. And now you've forgotten that this was your idea, not mine. Right. And that's a really difficult place to be in. So when you're when you start a project, do you have a way? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But a way to sort of set that bar up front, just so everyone's clear.
I I don't
Or
know
is
if
it
there's
case
really
by
like
case
a
dependency?
yeah. I mean, it kind of like you take the temperature. Sometimes the guardrails are really important. Like so, the direct response stuff I did, it was for personal injury law. So you are very boxed in,
Mhm.
and I do need to work very closely with the company, especially their legal team, in a situation like that. If it was pharma or something else, same thing. Uh, and that's not an adversarial relationship. That's a partnership.
Mhm.
And it's us finding the edges of the guardrails. Okay, we can't do this. If we're not going to be able to do this, then how about that? And you kind of tiptoe up to the edge together. And I found that's actually pretty successful when you've got
Okay.
the sort of the gatekeepers or the people reducing risk for the company
Mm.
as a partner. Like you're going to make them a little uncomfortable, but you have a conversation. You ask like, okay, why can't we do that? I need to understand it. You don't
Right.
go into it as like, I'm a creative genius. Look at my beret, and like you can't be that precious. You just have to like,
Yeah.
here's what I'd like to do. Tell
Yep.
me why it doesn't work, and
Right.
then
Right.
we'll change it until we can find something. And maybe it's not as wild as we really want to be.
Sure. Have
But
you
you've
ever
worked
found, like
together.
I've found in certain larger corporate settings, that, I've been allowed into, or,
They let you in corporate settings?
yeah, they let me in
I
once
know.
once in a
It's
blue moon.
surprising.
Peter, could you just wear pants and a shirt with a button? No, I can't. Okay. I'm just going to wear a long t-shirt today with a belt. But like I've found this, and then tell me if you've ever found this. Those legal teams and those broadcast standards, protocols, procedures people, they're like HR. They have this thankless job and everybody hates them. They have an important role to play. And what I found was I used to butt heads all the time with those kind of folks in certain settings until I realized that they were bored. And they always have to tell you basically no, or here's how we can do this in a super beigey, boring way. But when you come back to them and say, I have a challenge for you. This is what I'd like to do. And I know this is like crossing a line here and there, but how do we do this same thing without crossing that line? Can you help me figure out a way around that? And I have found they're like, oh my God, thank you. Nobody ever asks. Everybody just, goes, and slams the door and leaves the
Wait,
office.
you mean I'm not the devil? Yes, I would love to
And
have.
I
Yeah.
found, have you ever found that sometimes the legal team's like, some of them don't want to hear it. They're like, nope, nope, nope. But some of them go, yeah, no, nobody ever includes me in this process. I would love to tell you how you can do that.
Well, you hit on it. It's the inclusion because they are part of the team and they do need to be respected. They're there to reduce risk. That's their job.
That's their main job.
Yeah,
Right.
you just have to you're partners. And even if it's not fractional, even if you're just part of a company, I was part of the company, and I drove the risk management people a little nuts. And I could tell like the first couple of times we had those conversations, they were annoyed.
Yeah.
And then it was like, but we were respectful and we worked through it. And it was like, okay, well, I'm going to explain what I'm trying to do, and so help me understand where I'm absolutely not possible. Like I need to understand what the restrictions are here, so I don't come to you with this the next time and waste your time again.
Right.
And once it becomes that kind of relationship, it does smooth out. Yeah.
Yeah. I learned that at Disney that was my first corporate, dalliance with legal teams. I learned to make, and I think as creatives, our job is to take and make risks. Their job is the opposite, is to mitigate those risks and dampen the, possibility of litigation. But if you really look at it, we should be working in partnership more closely. Like part of it, you go, I don't care what your sales team says right now. I don't care. What I want to know is how I can work with a legal department that we can make the absolute best thing. Then we can move back over to sales, and their path is much easier once the legal team, right?
Look, if you go to sales and you're like, look, legal's already signed off on this. That's a little easier, right?
Yeah.
Just lets the load off.
But I mean, that's it does have to work that way. And as a creative, I don't I don't ever want to just be creative for creative sake. I don't want to not have guardrails. You need to be boxed in because that's where you become clever.
Well, you know full well everybody says, "Hey, you're the expert. Do just have fun with it. Have fun with it." It's not a spec. It's not a bullet point on a brief, especially when you know what follows have fun with it is, oh no, not that, but not that, not that. Could you do it this way? You know, right? Am I wrong?
Oh no, you're 100% right. Now, so even if somebody does say like, "Well, have fun with it," I'm gonna have to go do some discovery and figure out, all right, what are the parameters, or I'm just gonna have to create some artificial parameters that, like, okay, we're gonna do this with these limits. You know, like we're gonna do a not a movie, but we're gonna do a short film, and it's gonna be all shot with cell phones, which is like that's an old idea now. It's not revolutionary, but and you do those things in a certain way where you've given yourself a limit. Now it's an experiment. Now it's interesting to me as a creative who needs to be interested, and we can go from there. And it's different. Like it separates me from everybody else. So,
do you think if I gave you the limitation, which one would you choose? You can go shoot this short film on your iPhone, but here's the thing. You're going to have a piece of paper up over the lens with one little pinhole in it, and that's how you film it to tell this story. Or we're going to put, instead of a whole piece of paper, we're just going to block out the center of the lens so we can only see around it. Which one would you choose?
Oh, I'd go with the center being blocked out. That's like macular degeneration. That's
Oh my God.
because if you block just the, like, I don't know, like there's a more of a story just inherent in like, okay, if you're not looking at what's directly in front of you, look at all the stuff you're missing. Like immediately that's an analog for a story.
And this is why I like you so much, because you do see that, and that's how you think of things. When you have a challenge, you have to look around it, outside of it. You have to find ways to tell the story in different ways. A tree can be a tree, but a tree can also be, if you stand underneath it and point straight up and film it, that's different. If you had the opportunity to hot air balloon over it and take a top down view, that's still a tree, but it's a very different shape and dynamic. So I love that you see that, because that is what our job as creatives, and I would bet that Rod would agree with me and Scott would agree with me. Richard Moniz just showed up, but he won't agree with me. So
no, he doesn't agree with anyone.
Just ignore him.
I like Rod's. I want to see what one pant looks like. Is that like? Oh, like does it have still the full waist and then like all the way down one leg, or like where does
I like that?
Right.
Maybe it's just a waist with pockets dangling out over my thigh.
Yeah.
This is getting weird fast. Jeff, I think you had something to ask about CPG in general.
Yeah. So, like, this is creative process related, So, CPG is a beast, right? So you've got 2 seconds on the shelf, and there's 100 competitors, the sea of sameness, and a buyer who doesn't care. How do you cut through all of that, right, without throwing money at it?
It's not money, it's practice, in the sense of understanding the levers you're going to pull. Like how does a person make a decision? And so that's psychology, that's sociology. And that's not really expensive. It's simply understanding people and humans and how they work. And that's divorced from so much packaging, because packaging is designed for a couple of audiences. The first one is like the person signing the checks, right? Like the CEO or whatever, like CMO.
It's about me.
We have to make them happy. Right. I don't like that typeface. I don't, what if we used more blue or whatever? What are our competitors doing? Why don't we do something like that? And so
that's the worst.
But so if you're on the shelf and it's like, it's really like out of home. I see them very similar, because every package is a little billboard. And so you've got to take into account the art direction side of things, the contrast, the colors, the shape, the uniqueness. I mean, you've got the other stuff that, like, the money influences shelf position, right? And you guys are more CPG than I am, so you've got to deal with like, well, we're going to be down at their feet. How do you stand out there, or how do you kind of get somebody's attention when you're not in the Oreo level? you know, like
exactly.
Yeah. So that's like all of those things fit into it. And so CPG is really, I think it's really similar to something like out of home or other kinds of like display ads even.
Yeah.
Although,
Yes.
you know,
It has to get your
they're all
attention. I
little
mean, that
different.
ultimately, and you're right in terms of like that shelf placement. And I've seen some pretty creative things in terms of things on the lower shelf having like a little card that sticks out or something. So you can actually like you look down, you're like, oh, that's saying something to me.
Yeah.
And you know, and you can be creative that way. I'm just understanding like the real world way that you're gonna present yourself. And I think I think at least this is what I see, especially with AI, is that a lot of things are created for their website more so than for retail.
I see that a lot too. Yeah, I see a lot of stuff that nobody has thought about where it goes when it's off the computer screen. So you've got a whole team designing stuff on screens that are, you know, a foot or 18 inches away from your face.
Right.
And you go, okay, but this is like a 4x5 thing that's going to be printed 4-color, and people are going to see it from 100 feet away. What does it look like then? Can you read the typeface? Does the art look blocky and pixelated? You know, does it make sense? Again, I'm a big fan of contrast as I get older and I can't read a goddamn thing up close. Like it's kind of one of those things where it's just like, can you read it? Like, does it read? And I don't mean necessarily like read words, but does it read at a glance? Like it's that promise. Like if you're in the grocery store and you're selling a product, do you know what it is? Like, are you making a promise right away when somebody has those 2 seconds and they clap an eye on it and they know what that product is? Or is it doing the what is that thing well enough to make somebody pause and pick it up?
Right.
Because if you're not doing either of those,
right,
you're only going to have your occasional
you're in limbo, right? Because there's no cure. I mean, the curiosity sort of strategy is like, you know, when people put ads and they want to put everything about the product, and that's not what the ads for curiosity, so that they click on it and then they learn about the product, right? So that's a great strategy if you execute it well. And then the other one is just like, say what it is, like make it easy for me to understand what the heck this is a can of tuna fish.
Yeah, but that's where you get into that like lanes and categories for a brand. I think a lot of brands or a lot of founders or you know, even established brands can drift off their center point, right? And you think about, I was giving an explanation to someone the other day. They were asking me to, you know, explain what you're saying. And I said, well, okay, there's like a mental shelf that your brand lives on, right? In the buyer's mind. So whether we're saying 1.7 seconds, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, you know, we'll have to come to some consensus on that sooner or later because it keeps changing. But
I think people just make that number up.
Yeah. What's your category? You know, what is the category that you live in? And the answer was like, well, we're in the food and beverage space. And I said, that's an industry. It's not a category. So tell me more. Be specific. And they said, well, what we have is a craft allergen-free snack for families.
Chef inspired. Yeah.
And I was like, craft, cut it out. But you know, you're getting close now to being a category. And we worked on this a little bit back and forth. And I said, you know what your category is, or at least one category that to me is your priority? You're a clean label family snack, or you're the snack, which this is more of a tagline, the snack that every kid at the table can eat. So you've got some inclusivity there. You know how some kids have allergies and they have to sit at that lonely table in a dark hallway alone and eat. Their social.
That sounds like some trauma you should probably work out.
It is. No, I was fine. I had no allergies to anything ever. But my point being, getting that category straight. You're not in the food and beverage space. You're not in the category of craft allergen-free snacks for families. You're in something we would call clean label family snacking. And it's that once they have that under their belt, right, then everything else becomes a lot easier to isolate, distill, and work out, right?
Yeah. So do you find that, so that's like a thought exercise that either they haven't done or they didn't know how, and that once you do that, you lift a veil where you come in and you say, no, you need to narrow down here, because everybody will say we're part of this. But once you narrow and you figure out like, what is your specialty? What is your differentiator? So once you lead them through that, then they get it.
That's right. And I think, sometimes, look, dude, right? We all know this. There's people that don't want to hear it, right?
Yeah,
they don't want to hear it. And those aren't our people,
Yeah.
And it's okay. And then, even it's funny because you go hearing it. If I was to audit your brand, it's not about what's bad or wrong. It's about what's strong and should be led with. But those are the things. Yeah, I think it depends on the person. Some people, you reveal it to them and they go, oh my God, I never thought of that. And sometimes you have to really educate them through this process so that they understand. I mean, we've all been through it. I had to go, thinking about what Brandartica does. What are we? Oh, we're a full service agency, which means
that doesn't say much, right?
Who isn't? We're a creative agency. Really?
Oh,
I'm hoping agency's creative. Yeah, right.
Right.
Look, there's a lot I could name, but I probably don't want to get you guys.
Yeah. But I mean, when I look at it and I said, a category we drive with CPG or any brand would be first contact credibility.
Yeah.
The moment they see you, they know who you are, they get you, they trust you, they want you.
Right. That's a phrase that's intriguing enough for contact credibility, where they say, oh, what's that? Tell me more. Right.
Like, what does that mean? I'm curious.
Well, and I think it's good sometimes, don't you, to have people ask. It leads to bigger conversations. If we explained it in full, definitively, there's nothing left to ask. They go, oh, okay. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, and it feels kind of pitchy if you give them the whole thing, right? So you just kind of, you drop the bomb, and if they're interested, they'll ask. And if not, you just kind of, you move on, or they come back later and they're like, hey, tell me more.
That's right. So I have a question for you, going off road a little bit. We'll take an exit ramp here. Car ads, the old school car ads kind of lit a spark for your career. Explain what it was, what you loved, and are you able to drag any of that old school style, kicking and screaming, into today's advertising?
Sure. So when I was a kid, my grandfather had this stack of old Popular Science and Mechanics Illustrated magazines, and I would swipe them and just like look through them. They're fascinating. So this was the 80s. So I was looking at stuff from the 50s. It seemed like a completely different world, even though it was still like kind of touchable, right? It was still there. But the thing that really stood out was a lot of the ads. I mean, the ones that come to mind right away are the DDB stuff for Volkswagen. Iconic. Everybody studies them now. But when you really look at that, they're clean. They're clever. They tie right to the brand. People look at that, and so if you said, I want to do an ad that's like the old Volkswagen ads, immediately people know what they are.
Yeah.
And so that distinctiveness, they're conceptually strong. The copywriting is clever. And they became almost like an event on their own. Like, have you seen the new one? Oh, if you liked that one, like the lemon ad, what about the TV ad, like what the snowplow driver drives to get to work, right? Yes. So like they were big ideas, but they were big, simple ideas. You can't take a complicated idea and make it big. So the larger you make that idea, the more applicable it is to everybody, but the simpler it has to be. And that distillation, I mean, it's kind of like what you do with booze, right? That you distill it to make it stronger.
Yes.
Well,
that's very clever. I'm glad I thought that. But yeah.
Take wine, you distill it, it becomes cognac.
Yeah.
Right.
But in doing that, like you make something it reads really, really immediately. And there was other stuff. I loved the way they used photography, art, and layout and design together the car ads, like Fitz and Van were the illustrator team that did things for GM for Pontiac, I think specifically. So when you look at a lot of Pontiac ads from like the 60s, those are paintings. And and two guys did them. One guy would do the car, the other guy would do the backgrounds, and then they put the reflections. And you're like, what? Amazing stuff, and just gorgeous. And the photography too. So there was this company called Boulevard Photographic, and they had accounts with pretty much all the automakers, and they would do these little slice of life kind of setups. So their photography was really interesting too. They had a special process that could make the cars look like they were in motion without really having them in motion. But really, throughout all of those is strong creative direction, and that's not from those. It's not from Boulevard Photographic. It's not from Fitz and Van. It's not from. I mean, DDB was creative direction, but they had an ally inside those companies. The companies listened to them and committed, and that's, I think, sort of what is missing to a degree. For like, the practice is different now. The practice of advertising, it's a lot more about measurement and numbers, and testing, and just not taking a risk in the sense that, like, well, we haven't focus grouped this, we haven't, we're not sure if it's going to work. I'm telling you, it's going to work, right? Like, yes, and if it doesn't work as well as we want to, then we'll change something. Like, that's the whole point. But that commitment, and they did it for years, and by doing it for years and kind of evolving the campaigns, like, that's really you have this clean work, this identifiable work, and it's just a zeitgeist that I think a lot of it is the influence of earlier art movements that happened. So Bauhaus, there's a lot of Bauhaus in it. And it was a gateway to the fine arts for me. It was just it lit the spark, and then just learning about, this was a team effort. It wasn't just like, Bill Bernbach in New York going, no, it should be like this. It was how did he inspire?
I mean, I always think about like those, like these brands, like, Nike with, Just Do It, and Apple, Think Different, and Volkswagen Drivers Wanted. It's so clear, right? Like, it's unbelievable how clear it is what they're saying, and they don't have like all of these words entangled in it, and they don't even really say, Drivers Wanted is about the driver. It's not about the car. They're not. It's not a heavy sales thing, right? It's about being connected.
Right. You're selling the benefit.
That's right.
And that works today. And it's just so much easier to sell the features. We have, our phone has this many megapixels in the camera and this much battery life. Okay. But nobody cares.
Right.
Only specs geeks care, and they're going to find the specs anyway.
Of course.
So, it really is committing and having the nerve. I think a lot of it is, there's a lot of nerve that we could kind of get back.
That's it. We did. I've always enjoyed, and Scott put it up there, mid-century ads rule. I've always kind of been drawn to those myself, and have taken the liberty to take some of that and bring it into today's advertising. I was looking for them so I could show you, but some ads I remember doing for a Woodstock Inn brewery a long time ago. And it's funny, they were like, well, where's the beer in the ad? I'm like, you don't need the fucking beer in the ad, guy.
A picture of beer looks like a picture of beer.
Relax.
Right.
But we set them up so that there was a good chunk of text to read, and a really gorgeous, crisp picture, and just a bold image with something very clear to say, and everything else sells itself. It's the experience you're selling, not so much as the beer. So I love that style. That's always interesting.
I think it's a farce that the long copy ad is dead. This format may have changed, but there's still room for some copy that tells a story. It just has to be good copy. And I think that's the bigger issue is our copy isn't good. And it's not just mid-century. Like it does extend into 80s and 90s. There's some really great, Porsche and Harley ads. And I know Scott mentioned Porsche.
Jeff, I gave you an ad. Do you still have that, or did you throw it away?
I'm trying to remember. No, I didn't throw it away.
I gave Jeff.
I forget where I put it though.
Christmas. I gave Jeff some old antique car advertisements.
Oh, see,
and what did he get me? Jeff, tell him what you got me
of all these things.
Oh yeah. Oh, we got the. Oh, God, right. That's the Charger. So that photo, that's a Boulevard photographic photo of the Charger.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Barracuda. Nice.
And then this one, I love this one. This is the Fiat ad.
Look at that.
The Fiat Spider
look at all
Turbo.
Look at all the. I mean, it's not white space, but look at all the empty.
I know,
there. Like the composition, and it's not just a mid-century thing because I don't want to be a retro nerd. It's more just like these are the principles of design. You can update everything and still use those techniques.
So you know what the behavior problem? The behavior came from the internet. So the internet brought us to the browser experience, right? And if you redid this long format type of copy and you broke it up with some subheads, it would get read. But without the subheads, now we've all been trained to skim and look for a subhead that's of interest. And I think if you took this long format, this isn't even that big, and you broke it up into sections with titles, somebody would stop and read it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, let's test it. Let's get a client who wants to try it out. And we'll go rock and roll.
Do you know any car companies that want to work?
I know a couple. I don't think they didn't like my take on advertising.
Yes.
Well, Slate has a really good team actually. Slate's agency is,
and they've been in the news now, right? With the $25,000 vehicle. Yeah.
Yep. But so their approach, they sold the feature. And that was one of the reasons why I joined the company was looking at how they were going to sell the thing. They knew they couldn't compete with, the big guns. They didn't have that kind of advertising budget and they didn't have that kind of product. So to try to go out there with a product that already has limitations, you're going to fail. So they flipped it around and they were very clever and scrappy about how they did their PR approach. And then their advertising kind of bolts onto that, where it does it again. It sells its most prominent feature. It's customization, and the fact that it's for everybody. It's simpler. It's a thing that you've been asking for. Look at all of these possibilities. You can get just what you want.
And it implies for me when I first saw it was you're starting with a blank slate, and then you make it your own. Yep.
Yeah. And that's the biggest issue that always there. Now the pricing is starting to come out, so people are seeing what it's actually going to cost because there was a lot of skepticism. But they're like, well, yeah, but is it going to be $40,000 by the time you're done? I'm sure you could price one up to 40, but overall, you can get what you want over time too. You don't have to buy it all at once because
that's right.
So you can continue. Right. It's like computers in the old days. You could add peripherals, right?
So, definitely. You change out a card and you upgrade it later. Yeah.
So it's a cool idea and a cool concept, and so I was really intrigued by that, and I thought they were on to a really great advertising practice. Whereas at Ford, I was a little bit more frustrated. I was like, these ads aren't great, guys. You pay a lot, but
that's they're a lot of tape there, though.
And they were like, well, you're so negative. And I had nothing to do with the advertising. I wasn't on that side of the company, but I would see them beforehand because we'd roll out hey, there's going to be a new ad. Tell everybody. And people don't really great. Okay. But you'd get to see them and you'd be like, how many people did it take to do that? And I feel like I'm talking shit, so I'll stop. But it's a real it's kind of an illustration of how a company gets careful versus bold. And you do need to be bold. And if everybody's doing something, you shouldn't be doing what everybody else is doing. And as a big gun in the industry, you absolutely can change that.
Yep. 100%. I have an offbeat question for you. So if you could pick one historical figure
Oh, this is the question. I've heard
One
this
historical figure whose messaging was just a disaster, and you could help them fix it. Who would it be? Or whether or not, don't even think like you'd help them fix it. Maybe you would be like, yeah, I ain't helping you with anything. But can you pick a historical figure whose ability to communicate was just so bad that it needed fixing?
That's a good one.
I'm not putting you on the spot.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be political, right? We probably
no.
No, that'd be too easy, my friend.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That is, I mean, I actually do feel like Jimmy Carter, which I know is political, but like, that guy, Scott uses this phrase servant heart a lot. And like, what a servant heart that guy had. He was right on for so much of it. And he just got undermined when he was really trying to do the right thing. And I just think about what would have happened if he had been as forceful as his opposition. And I know that doesn't mean like he was right about everything and we'd live in paradise, but I feel like we took our eyes off a ball as we were starting to make progress back then. And it could be a different world right now. So I know it's a little political, but
I think it's a good choice. No. He's and I
Nikola Tesla's a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah. Tesla's a great one.
Yeah.
And then Rod's doubling down, saying the band Tesla apparently is I think that's.
I don't think.
Well, I mean, the band Tesla. Did they write anything that was a hit, or did they just have their cover of Science?
No, they had some good hits. In fact,
Did they?
I think their song "Edison's Medicine" was brilliant.
Oh, okay.
Storytelling.
Yeah. All right.
That it was the meaning behind it was like completely over all of our heads at that time in space, right? I didn't know what the hell it meant. I just knew it was cool and it sounded good. But like I go back now, and whenever I hear that song, the lyrics just blow my mind. They were giving a history lesson.
Well, I mean, they named themselves after Tesla.
I know.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
I reached out to the Tesla Museum after watching. There's a great documentary.
That's right.
I don't know what it's called, but it was a documentary made about how the only surviving Tesla lab, and it's out on Long Island, was saved from being demolished. It was abandoned, obviously, but it was saved from being demolished and bought out by some kind of big property management company and turned into a mall or condominiums or both. And the small group got together and they managed to raise the money to buy the property and save it. And I think it's brilliant, and they just had it's such an interesting thing, but that's like their ability to go in and tell the story to raise the money that mattered more than anything else. Their ability to communicate why it was of value and what kind of significant importance it held. Without that, they would have failed.
Yeah. So if you're interested in Tesla, you should read the book Empires of Light. So it's about Edison, Westinghouse, and Tesla's involved.
Oh wow!
I think I've seen it.
Yeah, it's a good book.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not new. It's not
okay.
New.
That I will pick up. There's a fiction book which again was wildly entertaining. It's called Tesla and the Pyramids.
Oh, interesting.
Read it. It's
all right. We do book talk here. That's great.
Yeah, it's like a John Clancy novel. But
nice.
It's all about a couple of people that get mixed up with. I don't know. I think they find Edison's little black book that apparently never existed. The FBI went in and took all his shit. But it's a mystery thriller. Gets into some phenomenon kind of stuff, but it's a good one. Yeah, look that one up. It's a great read.
All right.
I love the comments.
I would like to give you guys an assignment book report next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do love like the science, like the trivia in science. I love like how they came about naming things. And like I remember like the first time I had asked the question, like what's the W in all of these radio stations? Why does it always start with a W? And then someone explained to me, it's like, well, that stands for Westinghouse. And I'm like, well, why does it stand for Westinghouse? And they gave me the whole explanation. But it was like, it's these things that are like buried, right? Like,
yeah.
And you have to dig. And it was always like interesting to me, like, why is it WBCN? Why is it why does it always start with a W?
Yeah. Rest in peace, WBCN.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boston Concert Network.
I know.
Yeah.
I love
just 7 years.
You know, a good buddy of mine, he started working at ZLX. We were in a band together, and after we all kind of just went our separate ways, and I think he was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. And he went and did like one of those Connecticut broadcast school things. And now he's like the number one guy on ZLX, Kenny Young.
Oh shit! Yeah, I've heard.
You know Kenny?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know him, but yeah, I've heard him on the air anyway. Yeah.
He's one of the funniest guys I've ever met. But I remember it's so funny because somehow along the way he became super tight friends with Charles Laquadera.
Oh, that's so funny.
And Laquadera lives in Hawaii now.
Yeah,
he goes out every couple of years. He and his wife go out and visit.
It's very Boston centric here, but why does Charles Laquadera hate Three Dog Night?
I don't know, but I agree with him.
Oh, really? Okay, all right.
I don't think about Three Dog Night too much. It's the like Dan Fogerty or
is that the one is the loneliest number?
Yes, that's one is the loneliest number.
Why does he not like them? I don't know.
I don't know. He wouldn't play, but like that was a good band. Their drummer was fantastic.
That's like 8-track era.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean, like Bay City Rollers.
Yeah, I'm not sure into Bay City Rollers. Yeah.
No, I mean that was 8 tracks, like 8 tracks.
Yeah,
like Fifth Dimension was like an 8 track.
Oh, I'm confusing them with Casey and the Sunshine Band.
No. Bay City Rollers from I think they're from England, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Rod actually has a good question about the K. What about K stations?
Right.
NAC in California and K Rock, and what's the K for?
Yeah, what is the K for?
Well, I think maybe it started out with the W for Westinghouse, but the differentiator, now that we're you go west of the Mississippi, call signs start with K's. East of the Mississippi, they start with W's, except for in Pennsylvania, KDKA, which is one of the oldest stations, if not the oldest broadcast station in the U.S.
Okay. So you spent some time on air, though, at radio stations?
Only college radio. I just nerded out about it.
What were you doing? Were you spinning records?
I was spinning. I was slip queuing my Techniques turntables, and
nice.
It was a good time.
You have all the carts.
We did have the carts. Yep. And they sometimes work.
Yeah, sometimes. Just put in another cart. What?
Yeah. And it was college radio, so it was totally free form and a complete mess.
Which is the way it should be.
Yeah,
of course, right? Like that's where you can like do what you want, play what you want.
Oh, Scott Fisk knows about BCN in the old days too.
Yeah. Well, Scott got to hear BCN like at its peak. Yeah. Well, maybe not. It's like Peter Wolf peak.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you know what the thing is that radio stations were so important to like the teenagers that are Gen Xers because like obviously there wasn't any streaming or anything. And you either played it like on your cassette deck or still records, I would suppose at some point. But like you were like dedicated to your local radio station. So much so I remember having my books, covered with the grocery bag covers, like the brown. And I would draw the WBCN logo on it, like because doodling or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like
they had a cool logo too. Yeah.
I know, and that's the thing. Like it was a totally different thing back then, and it's all nostalgic now. I mean, I certainly don't. I know my kids don't listen to radio.
Yeah, dude, they had the best lineup in the world though on that station.
It's a good point though. Sort of that kind of monoculture media was that and TV. It was our discovery window. Like you'd sweep the dial and you'd find stuff that you wouldn't find anywhere. Now discovery is really stratified, and so that makes it harder for us to break through on stuff.
I mean, you would wait for that show that was late at night to hear like the alternative music, right? Because they wouldn't play it during the day.
Right.
You'd wait for night for AM to get the skip off the the ionosphere, and you could hear here in New England you can hear like Quebec and Ohio.
Right.
Oh my God, that's funny. That is funny.
Sorry, everybody. We went like radio nerd thing.
No, that's okay, man. That's okay. That's what this show is for. It's a conversation with people and things about stuff. And I love this. These are the parts that I think most people probably find most interesting about it, all of us, and we all can kind of connect to it, especially Scott in the boombox. In fact, I saw a boombox in the background of something I was watching last night, and I asked my daughter, I said, "Do you see that thing up on the shelf there next to the lamp in the show?" And she's like, "What thing?" And I was like, "That thing, the box." "Yeah. Oh yeah. What is it?" And I was like, "It's a radio. It's a boombox." And she's like, "What is a boombox?" I'm like, "Never mind." Right. She's like, "What is a radio? What are you are you having a stroke, Father?" I think so. I smell burnt toast and taste pennies.
Yes. Oh yes, mixed taste. I remember. So I grew up in Connecticut. First time I heard Green Day was on 107.3 AAF. So we could get AAF because their old transmitter location was in Paxton.
Opie and Anthony.
It would reach down there. And so I recorded Longview on cassette when I was in high school in the 90s off of AAF. And nobody else in the area was playing it. And I would just record stuff like that. So
I love that. That's right. So I forgot. That was a way to get your music.
Yeah. So that's like I would love to make something that's as awesome as that where people want to bootleg it. That's a life goal.
Yeah, right on, man. So we're coming to the end of our time together. Is there anybody that doesn't know Dan Roth, please reach out on LinkedIn and get to know him. Get to know him.
Yeah.
And is there anything anybody should keep an eye out for? Where can they find you, see your work? Anything you're excited about right now?
Sure. Yeah, I'm excited about a new podcast that I'm working on called the M-Dash Report. And that's it's interesting because it's me and a couple of other guys who were executives at in Corporateville, and where it clips along. It's like a pardon the interruption style. So we have a lot of fun with it. We're a few episodes in. We've had some really good guests, and we talk about marketing, communications, and media kind of together. So it's a good time. Check it out. But if you want to find me, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm also on that I am community. That's actually a really cool place to go as a creative. It's very supportive. You'll find a lot of people who are really good at what they do. And so I've had a lot of productive discussions there because I find it's a little lonely sometimes where you need somebody to bounce ideas off of. But for me, like the big creative brainstorm with people who are unqualified, that's never really worked. I want to talk to people who get it, so we can riff a lot more efficiency. Right. How about you did a thing like so-and-so? No.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Can you do that more yellow?
Yeah. Definitely. LinkedIn is probably the easiest place to find me because I post a bit and I'm probably one of the more vocal Dan Roths on there. So
nice.
I love it.
Love that.
Well, that is awesome. And I guess we'll bring it on home now. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been yet another spectacular edition of Where the Dogs of Society Howl with our special guest, Dan Roth. The episode was called Dead Air. And my partner here, Jeff Litkowski, and of course myself and all of you wish to thank you. And you can always listen to the program on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the YouTube. If you missed it here today. Right. So with that said, I guess there's only one thing left for me to do, and that would be to tell you, Jeff, who's up next week?
That would be Vivo, founder of Space Time Performance Beverage.
Yes, Vivo, Space Time, all the goods. It is 2:30 our time. I don't know about the rest of you, but I think it's fabulous. And just one last thing you should keep in mind before the day comes to an end is that